How's it going, everybody? I am doing a quick assembly guide to the Super G 10-inch. I have a fully built one here on the wall, but it's a little different than the 5 and 7-inch frame, so I thought I would do a quick video guide on how to put this thing together. So, cool. Let's get to it. So let's just look over the packaging. We've got 4 arms, a top plate, 2 mid plates stacked on top of each other, the hardware package, and in addition to this you'll also have a baggie with the isolation grommets and the camera mount. So first things first, grab the 2mm thick mid plates. There's a 2mm and a 3mm. We're starting off with the 2mm by installing the isolation grommets. The best way to do this is to just kind of pinch it and squish it in. They'll work their way in there eventually. It's easier to push from the top using the bottom of the isolation grommet. Alright, so next up what we're going to be doing is grabbing an arm, the bottom plate, the 3mm thick bottom plate, and the 20mm screws, and remembering how this all goes together. We are going to put the 20mm screws through all of the bolt holes that are nearest the isolation grommets. So that's going to be 4 20mm bolts that we're going to slowly work our way around installing all the arms. We're going to be using the steel nylock nuts just to kind of hold everything in place. Leave it all finger tight for now so you have some room to work. Next up, you're going to grab the 25mm bolts and put them through the outer hole pattern of the arms. We're going to also hold these in place using some steel nylock nuts. Go around all 4 corners doing the same, 25mm bolt and a nylock nut. Now let's get around to tightening. I highly recommend to kind of snug them up in a rotating pattern. So you are going around snugging opposing bolts slowly. This will help get a even tightening on the arm surfaces so you have a better clamping force, preventing the arms from wiggling or slopping around. So once everything is snugged up, then we can start cranking everything down, and we're going to grab our 20mm standoffs and install them onto the 25mm bolts that are sticking out above the nylock nut. Next up, we're going to grab one of these shorter M3x8mm screws and the remaining steel nylock nuts. Essentially what we're doing here is creating a spacer so that the remaining 2 20mm standoffs will be at the same height as the rest of them. Once we do that, we can install the 20mm standoffs. This is what it should look like when you're all done. And now to install the front 35mm standoffs. Pretty straightforward there. Just use one of these short M3x8 button heads and throw those 35mm standoffs up front. Lastly, let's install those remaining 20mm screws into our isolation grommets. Those are going to be our stack screws. You can then install the aluminum nylock nuts right on there, just for safekeeping for now until you start building electronics in. Last but not least, we're going to throw the top plate on with the M3x8 button heads, and there we go. We have a completed Super G 10-inch. If you notice any arm slop at all, I highly recommend retightening the main set of dozen screws. It could be that you just kind of didn't get them all quite tight. But otherwise, there you go. That is a Super G 10-inch. I also have included longer motor bolts for when you're building the frame up. Anyways, thanks anyone for watching. I hope this video helped out. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful afternoon.